up, folks? Let me get closer again. My audio's doing that thing again. It's not as clear or as loud as I want it to be. Here, if I bring this closer. Here, I'll bring this closer. This works. Alright, well, I don't know how long this episode's going to be because I didn't really think about what I was going to do. Not that I've ever done that before, but, I mean, I don't really have a lot to talk about. I finished my second semester at undergrad, so that was cool, you know. I didn't do as well as I would have liked to, given everything that happened, you know. Of course, some of that also falls on me, like, you know, just being generally unmotivated sometimes, so, you know, trying to hem it in, try to, get my GPA up and everything, but, I mean, next semester I'll be well recuperated. I'll be ready to fire, I guess is the idea, right? So yeah, there's that. Been getting a lot of books lately, you know. I've got a book in Chinese, I've got a book in Japanese, I've got, some new books on Darwin and stuff. But yeah, just investing a lot in classics, I guess. I think I may have talked about that before, but I got Heaney Wolf. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, I want to do a transcription, something that doesn't exist, but it's, a word I just made up, but a transcription. I want to do Old English runes, the original text, and, a translation of Beowulf. I want to do them side by side. So there's that. It'll probably take a while. But the text is already there, right? So I have to copy over, and then, that's that. I'll do the translation myself, but I'll do the transcription for the runes, just directly, right? It won't be a 1-to-1 because, well, runes have certain letters that don't exist in English. I mean, of course, like win and stuff did exist in English, but like they have a separate letter for ash, and then they have a letter for ng, which English also had a letter for ng, but I think that came later in the English orthography than, like thorn and like F, right? But yeah, so that's one of my big project plans. I would eventually like to get that taken care of, and I want to do a translation instead of like try to keep the iambic pentameter. Do it like, how they explain Shakespeare, like those books that have the original on one side and then the like new, modern English, how you would explain that or what it would mean. They do that for some Shakespeare, and I would kind of want to do that because I don't have that in me to like stay with the meter and try to like fully explain things, in that short like line. It's not an iambic pentameter, but it's an I think there is some meter, some way that it is supposed to be spake. So yeah, so there's Beowulf. That's my big plan. I really admire Beowulf. I think it's great. They make a lot of movie adaptations of it. I don't think I've ever seen any movie adaptations of Beowulf, and I don't really want to. But yeah, I mean 1984 is a good movie, so I guess there could be a good Beowulf movie. But I mean, there's so much fantasy out there that Beowulf would kind of just be a drop in the ocean for fantastical stuff. But yeah, I've kind of laid off of the whole making music. I don't really have any reason to. Like, I still come up with riffs and everything. It's just I don't want to make music right now. Yeah, it's been like a month. I think either today or tomorrow is officially a month since I've recorded any songs at all. So, I mean, as unfortunate as that might be for people that actually like my music, you still have my entire catalog to listen to, so there's always that. My new stuff is of higher quality than my old stuff, so I mean, if I could keep adding on to the good, then that'd be nice, but it's just I don't want to right now. I'll probably take a couple months break and then get back into it because I've almost been like, yeah, I'm gonna record again, but I just haven't because I don't record singles. I mean, I used to record singles every now and again, but uh, yeah, I just don't do that anymore. So, what was I going to talk about? Um, shit, I can't remember what I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, um, oh shit, hold on. I don't know if you caught that, but one of my alarms went off. I woke up with a tick on me one day, and they gave me an antibiotic for Lyme disease because I live in Pennsylvania. So yeah, that was nice. So I yeah got to do that for like 3 weeks, and it's not fun because my stomach's already messed up and everything. So it's just not a joyous experience. All the pains and aches, and it wasn't like burrowed into me, but holy shit, it still has not healed. I got back into playing Hearts of Iron 4 again. I I played a little bit of Gutta Demahung, and I mean I like Gutta Demahung, but Graveyard of Empires I was really excited for, and I don't think it was that good. Like I like that there's the mandate of Syria, Palestine, Jordan, those things. Like, I like that they're giving those nations, like, their own independence. Because the United Kingdom is super beefy in terms of, like, resources and stuff. Which, I mean, that's obviously to counterbalance the fact that, that's obviously to counterbalance the fact that Germany is just so strong now, right? And I mean, it's really good that I think Europe is really balanced right now. I don't think I was really worried that it would be really difficult to get Austria to do anything, or it would be really difficult, like if you're a Germany player, to be able to Anschluss Austria. I almost said Österreich. um, which I mean wouldn't have been wrong, but I thought it would have been insanely difficult to get Austria to do anything. But I mean it's still relatively easy to get Austria to Anschluss by 1938. Yeah, I like the Reichskommissariat system. Uh, it's kind of hard for me because like I like the administrative zones and everything, and I like that they paid attention to history. Like, when you like do the Volga German colony, like you can make it a Reichsgebiet, and you can get a core on that area. That's really intricate detail to history there. That's actually really cool. But yeah, no, it's just a pain in the ass. Especially like when you're declaring war on Yugoslavia, and the Croatia pops up and you're trying to get the Reichskommissariat Balkan. Yeah, it's a pain sometimes because then you have to have all these administrative zones. I always after I capitulate Hungary, if I have to, or not Hungary, after I capitulate Romania, if I have to do that, what I do is I always puppet Transylvania instead of puppeting all of Romania. But I don't want Hungary to have it because they're not a puppet, so it's less power to me. But I always separate Transylvania and Romania. Now, whether that's actually a good idea, I don't know. It does make things more complicated, but I like the separate zones of administration, and I like how you can incorporate, like, you can expand the administrative zones. It's really, like, great attention to detail. Um, I would say that, um, yeah, I would say, hold on, I gotta think about this. Like, I wish it was generally easier to get war goals on all the European countries. Um, I wish there was like there's obviously the Glasdeutsches Reich, but I mean, I wish there was some, I don't know, like some formable with all of mainland Europe, outside of maybe like the Turkish states, but I don't know. I think the European Union kind of does that, but I mean, you can't form the European Union as fascist Germany, which is fine. I understand there needs to be some sort of like exclusivity. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess I do wish for that. Like, you can't get a war goal on Hungary, which I wish you could. Like, it kind of makes sense to have a war goal on Hungary in like a historical path because of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Um, I wish you could get cores on all of the former German and Austro-Hungarian lands because I mean you can get cores on the but I mean I guess that would kind of render the Austria-Hungary tree obsolete, but people would still play Austria. You would just need some incentive, I guess. I wish shipbuilding as Austria-Hungary was easier because you don't start off with a navy. So if you want to build a navy, you're already late to the party after you get sea access. Um, so there's that. I wish building heavy ships was easier as Germany too, because I don't like a marine or not marine. I don't like submarines like spamming. I just it's immersion breaking for me. I wish I wish the shipbuilding system I wish the shipbuilding system was different because I mean, at the end of the game, if you have everything right, you put 5 shipyards on like a really good battleship. It takes still like 2 years to build. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Like 2 3 years to build. It's just I wish there was something you could do outside of the continuous focus for dockyard output. I wish you could do something there. But I mean, there are a bunch of things that help shipbuilding. I don't like the production cost increase that it creates for like the military industrial organization stuff. Like, trying to think of an example. Like on battleships, you either have on the right side of the screen you have soft or heavy attack and piercing, and then you have heavy piercing and light piercing. I think. I think it's something like that, and then it's plus 10% production cost. If you're making a battleship, that 10% like production cost is absurd. Because I mean, if you're thinking about it, like late game battleships are like 10 to 14,000 production cost, right? And they get higher. Like if you research like heavy gunnery and you have everything like that unlocked, you can make some really like just insane battleships. Like you can dock all of the top section with heavy batteries, I think. Whereas with super heavy battleships, you have the I think it's like 5 maybe 6 total modules where you can have heavy batteries, which I mean obviously is like super balanced because super heavy battleships are like insane in cost. Um, so I mean that makes sense, but yeah, a lot of late game stuff is like super expensive. Heavy cruisers get to be too expensive. Like the way I do it is I do 3 heavy batteries, yeah, I do 3 heavy batteries, like a float plane, and then some like secondary batteries. Of course, this varies. I don't usually put torpedoes on heavy cruisers. It's a more light cruiser thing for me. That's because I'm an American. It's really awkward for me to think about like old dreadnoughts having like torpedo capabilities. Like old dreadnoughts used to be able to fire torpedoes. I think it was, oh god, it might have been the New York class, maybe. But I know there were old U.S. battleships that used to be able to fire torpedoes, and that's so jarring to me. But yeah, I know. It might have been a Gano class or something like that. But I know the Kuma class in particular used to be loaded with torpedoes, right? And I think those are light cruisers, but maybe like Takao and stuff, they used to have or I guess Takao would count as a battle cruiser. I don't know. Does that count as a heavy cruiser or a battle cruiser? Either way, I think like a lot of other nations used torpedoes on heavy cruisers because it's a logistical move. Obviously, torpedoes are some of the most efficient weapons because I mean you have to be accurate, but at the same time, like it's easier to miss with a shell. Like if you're firing into a group, like you have to be really accurate with shells. Whereas like torpedoes, you can still miss your main target and hit something else. Like there are a bunch of submarine stories where that stuff like that happens, right? So, I mean, it's a logistical move to put torpedoes on because it causes cautiousness on the other side. Like oh, we have to watch out for torpedoes, so we have to spread out or things like that. But I mean, for me, it's just awkward to think about because like Northampton, I don't think Northampton classes had that. Alaska classes were battle cruisers, so they weren't designated battle cruisers. I don't think. I think they were designated as heavy cruisers, but they had 10-inch guns. The HMS Dreadnought had 10-inch guns, so I mean they're battle cruisers in the eyes of most. Yeah, I think they were. I think they could have been battle cruisers actually because they were designated as territories, like the Alaska class was designated as territories, whereas heavy cruisers and light cruisers were named after cities. So I think, yeah, the territory does kind of like fall between that like echelon where like old capital ship battleships were named after states. Obviously, we have nuclear submarines taking that place. Like we have I think it's the District of Columbia class, which I think is really cool that they're designating something to the District of Columbia. But yeah, so I think those were battle cruisers, the Alaska class. So I guess Northampton. I'm trying to think of some other heavy cruisers. I can only ever think of light cruisers. Like I think was San Francisco class. Maybe Atlanta. I know Atlanta class was probably either a heavier or definitely a heavy or light cruiser, but it had a lot of AA like capability. Like so, I think it was probably a light cruiser. Um, and then yeah, Cleveland class was a light cruiser. So I mean, I guess I can't really think of any like heavy cruisers right now, and I mean that's a shame outside of the Northampton class, but I don't think they had torpedo capabilities. But yeah, so that's why I don't put torpedoes on heavy cruisers. It's just weird for me as an American to do that. Um, what else? What else? Yeah, just heavy cruisers get to be so expensive in Hearts of Iron 4 late game because they require so much steel. And, like, I put vertical integration on everything for the military industrial organizations. And, I mean, that's good and well, but some of the stuff is really useful. Like, stable gunnery platforms, I feel like would be really useful. I think there's one for production output. I think it's, like, welding specialists or something like that. That might be armor, though. And that might be for tanks or something like that. But, yeah, it sucks having to put, vertical integration on everything. Autarky kind of helps that with Germany, but I mean, I don't always play Germany. Like, I did a game as the Guanzi clique, and Oh, clique right there. That's how you know I watch Ice Horror Productions. I say clique instead of click. I just say that in general, anyways. You know, British English and everything. But I played a game as the Guanzi clique, and then I realized like nationalist leadership. Like China, base game China has fucking nothing for resources. It's so sad because they have such a large population pool. I wish there was like a focus to add more like resources or whatever, or you could do something to get more resources as China, but you can't, you know, like Guanzi is the like one of the few areas that has like pretty much everything you need for, you know, resource wise, right? I also hate how you can't go fascist as China. Um you have to do I think it's either Yunnan. Now I've never played Shanxi. I've never played Shanxi or Shibi Sanma, so I don't know if they can go fascist, but going fascist from non-aligned seems easier to me than going fascist from communism. But yeah, Guanzi is like if you want to play a fascist China, I think it's the best way to go in terms of that. Um, an East Asian fascist power, I Siam doesn't have a focus tree, I don't think. So I don't think. But I mean, I think they're non-aligned instead of fascist, but they align with uh, Japan during the Greater East Asian Co-Prosperity Sphere. Wow, say that 10 times fast. Um, but yeah, I mean, Japan is the obvious, you know. But my thing with Japan is shit. What is my thing with Japan? I was going to say something. Oh yeah, my thing with Japan is you have such little access to mainland Europe. Like, of course, you have not the Reichskommissariats, but the Imperial puppets. You know, the Imperial protectorates. I mean, you can access mainland Europe, but I wish you could just like annex them off the bat. I think base game Hoi 4, Manchukuo and Manchuria, or Manchukuo and Menguko. I think yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think Manchukuo and Menguko are like I think they were like Japanese initially, and then later on they got their own dedicated puppets, which is fine. But yeah, I wish it was just easier to annex them, and get them the fuck out of the way. I also don't like how, as China, if you want to get the like the steel manufacturer, you have to own the one province that's in like Manchukuo, because it means you have to beat Japan. Which it's not hard to beat Japan. Like I beat Japan as China a couple times, and I mean it's not that hard, but it's just annoying that you have to do that. Steel is important, and it's unalterable steel either, or also like you can't get the infrastructure or supply hub bonuses. So I mean there's that. Uh, what else? Yeah, China's a great it's a great fun little experiment, but it's kind of hard to get off your feet. I wish there was I wish there was a chance to go fascist as base game like regular China instead of like having to use Guanzi or Yunnan. Democratic China is miserable. I don't like playing as democratic nations. Being non-aligned is a pain in the ass. I don't like non-aligned as a group, or I don't like non-aligned as an ideology because it's just monarchism. But the whole like if you're not non-aligned, so if you're communist or whatever, and you want to invite them to like if you want to invite a non-aligned nation to your faction without a focus, like not the Rome Berlin axis. Yeah, there's some focuses that like you invite non-aligned nations into a faction, like Turkey and Finland with the anti-Soviet pact. If you happen to have that kick off, like you can get it through there, but they just they won't try to join you even if you have really good relations and they have like high fascist. Like you need to kickstart a civil war, you need to get them to flip in order to join a faction with them, even with great relations. I don't understand that. I understand it needs to be like somewhat difficult to create factions, but it just it doesn't make sense for me a lot of the time. If you go through the effort of being trade partners, providing a lend lease, or negotiating licenses, or sending volunteers. I think there should be a consistent modification, or like a modification to relations, where like if you have consistently high relations, they should be more open to accepting faction whatever, right? Like I don't know. Poland's a really good example where like if you're Germany and you get your relations really high with Poland, no matter what, it's almost impossible to get Poland to join a faction with Germany, outside of like the anti-Soviet pact, because they just Poland has strategic reasons to not ally Germany or some bullshit like that, right? And the whole strategic reasons to be hostile towards, just I I don't get it. I don't get it a lot of the time. And well, yeah, like playing as fascist fascist China, yeah, playing as fascist China uh made me realize like Germany gets claims on Qingdao, which like makes sense historically, but it was like I wanted to get in the Axis sooner, but I couldn't because they had that claim, and it was Germany, the German Reich has you know strategic reasons to be hostile to the Third Guanzi clique, because I did like a formable or something, because I had a really good game that time. I think I yeah, I just was doing really, really good. And yeah, before fucking Tibet got in the way, fucking Tibet, I had reconquered all of the Chinese, like, well, I guess yeah, you don't get a core on Tibet. That's right. I think Tibet was annexed by China in like 1949, or no, 1955, I think. Hold on, I'm gonna go look this up. 1951 is when it was made official. All right. I don't know why I thought 1949. 1949 is when the Cultural Revolution happened, I think. And 1949 is when the Soviets, I think that's when the Soviets completed their nuclear bomb project. And then 1955 is when China did, I think. I'm pretty sure. And then, or it might have been in the 60s actually. I'm not gonna go look this up either because I'm too lazy for that shit. I think India had a nuclear bomb project in the 60s. There were a couple in the 60s that were completed, but yeah, the 40s and 50s is when like the most, like, the nations you think of, like, United Kingdom, France, United States, obviously, Soviet Union. 40s and 50s is when those ones happened. Unless France was later, like France could have been like 1962 or something, but I don't think so. I think it was in the 50s at some point. But yeah, so yeah, 1951 is when it was made official. China annexes Tibet, so I understand why that doesn't happen. You're not really supposed to play into the 50s. I guess Götterdämmerung makes that. I don't know how true Götterdämmerung makes that. Um, I think it's really. I think they have it really balanced with the late game tech, like the intercontinental ballistic missiles. So like if you do play that late, you have the means, you know. I often don't do that. Like I often don't play that late. I have no reason to play that late. You know, because I don't do world. I don't play on Iron Man, so I don't have any reason to do world conquest. I do World War II. I wrap that up. Sometimes I don't even do that. Like I'll capitulate the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union, and then I'll try to get to the United States, but I just nah. Naval range makes it a pain in the ass. I wish it was I wish it was easier to do stuff like that. Because after you capitulate the common turn, having an excess of ships is more. It's easier. I do. Is it Operation Asiro or something like that? It's Operation A something. But where you like beat the shit out of Italy. I try to do that like after I capitulate Poland and France. I don't always do Operation Tenenbaum. I just Switzerland's such a tough cookie to crack sometimes. You need really good casts to be able to make them budge. And oftentimes I don't really worry about cast production as much as I should. But yeah, getting the getting Italy to capitulate, taking the Regia Marina, and is it the Regia Marina? Regia Marina. Yeah, I think it's like the Royal Navy or something like that. The Italian Navy, and then getting the Soviet Navy, and that's useful. And then of course some of the minor nations, they have their own ships and whatnot that you can take, but most of them join the Allies. So I know Italy doesn't really join the Allies, or at least not from my experience. After you declare war on them, so you just get Italy to capitulate and they can just bugger off. Yeah, non-aligned and democratic nations almost always join the Allies after World War II is kicked off, and I mean that makes sense, right? That's how it was in real life. Like I think Brazil declared war on Germany in like 1940, like 3 or 4 or something like that. I could be wrong, but like everyone was declaring war on Germany after like 1942 or 1943. But yeah. So, oh boy. Yeah, that's my Hearts of Iron 4 talk. I was playing Skyrim a good bit. I actually did on one of my accounts get all, or not one of my accounts, on one of my characters, I naturally got all my skills to 100. Like I didn't cheat or anything. I got all my skills to level 100. Talk about not fun. God, that shit is miserable. I got all the Dragon Priest masks. I haven't done a single Daedric quest except for discerning the Transmundane. I do discerning the Transmundane because I get real lazy. I want that 5 skill boost. Although I do it for warrior most of the time, even though I shouldn't. I really should do it on like thief skills. Wait till I get like sneak to 95, get lockpicking to 95, get all those skill like speech to 95, because the thief skills are the ones that are the most irritating. Like getting your sneak up is a pain in the ass, even if you do like the high Hrothgar stuff, because the Greybeards, they will aggro you and they will fucking shout the living shit out of you. So after I get all those skills up, and what I do after I get all of those to like, after I've gotten most of my skills up and I want to level sneak, I go to Apocrypha and I do the Dragon Soul transfer. Like I'll do it for like 2-handed or whatever, and then I'll put the dagger stuff The daggers do 16 times damage while sneaking, and that's a good way to level your. And I mean, if you wanted to do one handed, that would also be a really good way to do it. Um, but yeah, so there's that. But yeah, if the graybeards aggro you, they'll do like freezing shouts and they'll do unrelenting forces, and they'll they they won't kill you. They're just really annoying. And what I did, and this doesn't work. I did beast form. I turned into a werewolf. No, it doesn't work like that. It might work with vampirism. The vampire lord, because you float, but I don't know. I didn't try that, but yeah, just keep sneaking and don't let the graybeards aggro you. Get as much sneak as you possibly can. Um, Doing stealth archer is like the cheesiest way to do that, but I mean, I wish it would just be consistent to where if you were sneak, because people do start stealth archer anyways, right? Like, I never like make a pure stealth archer build. Like, I don't play as wood elves or anything, but like when I am like leveling my archery for that damage boost, I always sneak. So I just wish it was consistent all the time to where you would always get that, sneak shot, get that sneak XP, because sneaking around like houses you're trespassing in gives you such little XP, even with the thief stone, that it's like negligible, right? So you need to do that high Hrothgar stuff. I wish sneak leveled quicker. I wish sneak leveled quicker. I wish there were a lot of things that leveled quicker, like smithing. Like, there's no reason smithing and enchanting and alchemy takes so long to level. Because, I mean, come on, right? Everyone's going to do the same thing every time. Like, they're going to get the salmon roe. They're going to get, right, like, get salt pile. I think it's, like, scary Philiota as well. To make those, like, potions of slow, potions of paralysis, potions of water breathing. And with the rare curious, you get the, you get, like, Dream Eye Core. You get Elytra Nymph shit, I think, like, something like that. And then, you get all those additional, ingredients that you can use for alchemy. But it's just like getting all of those, because it's just a pain, right? And I don't use alchemy. I don't make poisons. Like, I make, like, not enchanting. I make fortify enchanting and fortify smithing potions, right, to get the most out of my gear and everything. But other than that, like, I don't make, like, fortify health. I try to keep as little amount of potions in my inventory. Sometimes for dragon fights it can get a little tedious, because dragons are lame and they have the drained vitality. But our legendary dragons use drained vitality. But yeah, so that's my whole Skyrim thing. I'm taking a little break from Skyrim right now. I'm playing a lot of Roost recently. I'm still practicing guitar and everything, trying to stay up on that. But yeah, I'm just working again, taking care of stuff at home, and then practicing, making sure my knowledge is still up to date and still useful. Trying to keep up with science, history, and language. Those are my three darlings. Popular culture never falls to the wayside, because I always incorporate it in my life, like my love for movies and everything. But I mean, that's not really a passion. I really like movies and music and everything, but it's not like something I'm super passionate about. I'm still writing Encyclopedia Apocalypsia. I've kind of taken a break from writing in general because it, like, you know, finals and everything pooped me out of writing. So I'll probably get back to writing that in June. And then yeah, like I'll spend my days off writing that, and then I should have a Encyclopedia Apocalypsia published. Good God, I don't know when I'll have that published, but I'm shooting for 50,000 words, like a short novel, because there's not much to the story. It's just this guy, you know, he got a passion for nomenclature, and you know he really likes science, and he noticed that after the apocalypse that, you know, these new species, they didn't have taxonomic names and they didn't have any ways of being identified, so he does that himself. He puts that into his own hands, and he creates arable land, and he does farming, and he, you know, notes agriculture, right? And he has to deal with, you know, the struggle of like making actual edible food from these, you know, he kind of has to do like an agricultural revolution on his own, right? But yeah, that's the main gist. I'll keep people posted when I do have it finished and it goes through you know, editing and whatnot. But all right, that's this episode of the Evan Button Show. A lot of Hearts of Iron 4 talk this time, but I didn't really have anything to talk about like pertinent to my life because it's basically the same old, same old. Um, I'm not gonna release an album this month. It's gonna be like a break period, and then I'll have uh I'll have a couple albums out, and then I'll have the Celestine and the Stars project out. I think I might not release any of the stuff I've like recorded recently. Maybe not even the Celestine and the Stars project. I might try to like have a new slate, but I mean I'll cross that bridge when I get there. So thank you for listening. Take care. Stay safe. Thanks for listening again. And cheerio.